Welcome back to our presentation on the expectation of Division of Kinesiology Graduate students at Fresno Pacific University. My name is Jim Ave, and I am the program director for the graduate programs. In this presentation, I'm going to go over the expectations that we have for students. In the previous presentation, I spent time on what you should expect from faculty and what's the difference between undergrad and graduate programs. So one thing you should expect is about how many hours should you expect to be working in classes. Now, I get this question a lot during the summer. It's more intense because you're taking more classes during the summer. So a lot of this depends on how fast you read and write. Because that's what you're going to be doing a lot of in our courses. So let's say anywhere from 20 to 30 hours per week. We're in the fall and the spring courses, about 10 hours per week. It may be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. This is a generalization. And some weeks are going to be heavier than other weeks. So you just have to assume some weeks are going to be higher load than others. Other thing I have expectations for is I want you to check your email on a kind of regularly. I mean, with smartphones every day, that's not a problem. I'll call it the Moodle orientation class, I have a link there on how to forward your fpu.edu email account. I would recommend that you do that if you don't want to check another email account, because you are expected to check that email account. You'll get notifications from the university at that email account. That's how I'll communicate with you. Probably other faculty members will communicate with you with that email account. So if you don't want to check that email account, please forward it, as you are expected to check your Fresno Pacific University email. I would also look at, in each course, there are course announcements. That's called the course announcement form. Some faculty use it more than others, but that's how they'll update you. They'll also update you through emails. Sometimes with the course announcement form, an email will be sent to you. At least that's how I do it in my classes. It's already set up that I'll email you, so make sure that you're looking at your email. Some more expectations. We spend a lot of time writing our assignments and providing you assignment directions in the syllabi, and sometimes they're in the Moodle class. So please follow those. If you're not sure, please ask. As my third bullet point says, we always want you to ask for help if you're not sure what we expect as a faculty member. As the two former alumni of our program said in their How to Be Successful in this program, both of them said to ask if you're not sure. Ask your faculty member, ask your professors, because we want to make sure that you are clear on what we expect. We tried to put that in the directions, but sometimes we're humans, and what we think we're saying is not what you think we're saying. So make sure you're clear. We will do a lot of forum and threaded discussions, and these are considered class time. So a couple ways to think about the forum is if we were in a face-to-face class and the teacher asked you to break up into groups and have group discussions at your table, well, that's now being recorded in the forum, those table discussions. Other way to look at it is if you are asked to be an expert in a particular area and you are asked to come to class and do a presentation on, or a reflection on a reading, that would be the first post that you have. And then in a class, in a face-to-face class, other students ask you questions, you respond back to their questions, or you ask questions to the other students and they respond back to your questions. And so we're trying to have a dialogue about these different topics. The other expectations for our forums and threaded discussions, let's say that in the class you are asked to post your initial response, let's say Sunday night at 11:55 p.m. You have that initial response, which should be supported with references, because this is still a formal assignment, like you were writing a paper. So it should be supported with research and cited, just like in a paper, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But then the other expectation of that assignment, the form assignment, is that you read and respond to, let's say, 2 other students' forum posts. Most faculty will ask or tell you what they want you to respond back to. Let's say that that's due on Wednesday, so you read and respond. It really works best if you don't do it at midnight on Wednesday. Try to start doing your forum post earlier in the week. The other expectations that we have as a faculty is that you also read others who have responded to your forum or your questions and respond back to them. So we're having a dialogue going. And so you're not just posting your initial post, reading 2 other students, posting back, and never ever going back and having a dialogue with the other student again. We expect you to have that running discussion, that threaded discussion, is why it's called that. So it's an ongoing dialogue. And I guess I put these bullet points out of order. As I said earlier, if you're not sure, ask questions. We have question and answer forums in our class. Post your questions there. Again, and as I said, I think in one of the other presentation, each faculty member may have different expectations or criteria on how they want you to contact them. Some will say call me, some will say email me, some will say text me. So know how your faculty want to be contacted to get help. We all are here to help you. If you're unsure, please ask. Some more tips for success. As the alumni of our program said, do a little bit every single day. There's just too much work to be done to try to do this on a weekend. Do a little bit every day. Set up time in your schedule where you know you're in class, nothing else can disturb that. Do not wait. Papers due on Sunday. Don't wait till Saturday to start, or don't wait till Sunday to start. It'll be shoddy work. We'll know. The faculty will know. Believe me, we know. We've been doing this long enough to know who's waiting to the last minute to do the work. Other expectations we have is what I call scholarly writing. Part of that is learning what APA stands for, is the American Psychological Association. It's a writing guide, a writing style. It also tells you how you should format papers, how you should cite references in the paper, which is called in-text citation, and at the end of the text, which is called a reference page. You are expected to learn APA. You are expected to buy the APA manual. Is one of the books that you were told at the beginning of the program to purchase the manual. I have provided a template for you in the introduction assignment in the Moodle orientation class. Please download that template. It'll be very beneficial to you. You can also use Google. They will help you too. Use that tool called the internet if you're not sure how to cite things. Some of the things that the faculty are picky about is making sure that you follow APA for the title page, in-text and end-of-text citations, for heading, section heading format. So make sure, and making sure I'm going to talk about some more of these in just a bit, so I'm going to stop talking about that. Other parts about scholarly writing is what I call evidence-based academics. What that means is in the medical area, which I'm a certified athletic trainer, so I'm a healthcare provider. We try to use what's called evidence-based medicine or evidence-based practice. What that means is that why do we treat an ankle sprain a certain way? It's because the evidence in the research has shown that using a certain kind of modality or therapy provides the best results. Well, I'm using that thinking through our academics here. We should use the evidence, which in academia, the evidence is the research articles, and we should base our opinions, our thoughts, and our reflections on what the evidence tells us. So, generally speaking, when you're writing your papers, you are not the expert. The only time that's not true is when you're asked on personal applications of things. Other than that, you should be citing references. You should be citing the resources. You should be citing the evidence. You should be citing the references to support what you think. How do you know that whatever that is that you're writing about is correct? Support it with references. That doesn't mean just have a bunch of quotes. That's not good writing. If you're not a very good writer, please get help. Use good resources, and here's what I have for resources. The number one best type of resource is what's called a peer-reviewed journal articles, which would be original research, where authors are going out and collecting data, doing original research. The other kind of peer-reviewed journal articles are what's called, you'll learn in your research methods class. We have what's called a primary source, which is what I was just talking about, original research, and secondary sources, which is authors summarizing the conclusions and recommendations from multiple articles. Those are really good sources. Textbooks is a secondary source. Textbook authors are doing the same type of thing. They're looking at all the current peer-reviewed journal articles and primary sources and giving us a big picture of the topics in the textbook. Now with the textbook, you want to use the most current edition because they have updated it with the most current research. You can also use professional organization materials. A lot of professional organizations have really good information that you should be following. You can also use their website. You can also use material from professional symposia, convention, or workshop abstracts. You can also use professional, and the critical term here is professional video DVDs or CDs, or professional interviews. Notice that that's number 7, so that should be not used all that frequently. What you should never use is Wikipedia. You should not use blogs. You should not use somebody's personal website. There's a lot of stuff on the internet where Dr. Joe Blow has his or her own web page. That is not an acceptable source to be used because it's not what's called peer review. Peer review means that other experts in the area have read it and make sure that the material is correct, and it's where all the 7 points up there on the screen, all those references have gone through the peer review process. Whereas Wikipedia is actually better now than it used to be, but I still will not accept it. But most personal web pages or blogs are not peer reviewed. More writing, and this is really formatting and writing stuff. Make sure all your assignments have title pages. And again, in that I've given you a template to follow, so please follow that template. Every assignment, you should give it a title. You can use the title of the assignment, or you can give it a different title. Either way is fine. Please use the page number insert tool, and if you use the template, it's already got that on there. When you write, use third person. That means taking yourself out of the paper. You won't use personal pronouns like I, me, us, those type of things. Only reason you would write in first person is when you're asked to apply the information. I will do this, I will do that. But when you're explaining information, you should use third person. Never, 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 never use second person, which means you, your, any of that, that's second person. For academic writing, we don't use second person. Typically, you will use past tense when you're discussing things, because when you're reviewing conclusions or applications from articles or textbooks, that information was written in the past, so you should write that Smith in 1989 stated, or his conclusions were, those things were written in the past, so you shouldn't be using present tense for that material. You will use future tense when you're discussing future events. I will use this in this way, and that's typically will be used when you're talking about personal application. Some more writing stuff. This is all formatting. Use 1-inch margins on top, left, bottom, and right. Use a 12-point font, Arial or Times New Roman. One thing I forgot to put in this bullet point is that Microsoft Word, I think back in 2008, changed their spacing in their paragraphs. Is defaulted to have either a 10-point or a 12-point space between each paragraph, new paragraph, and I can't stand it. So I have provided a video. It's an older video, but it still shows you how to do it, how to eliminate that extra space. Please eliminate that extra space that is defaulted in Microsoft Word. Words for 0 to 10. Use words for 0 to 10 and spell numbers for greater than 10. Just a little APA thing. If you don't spell all that great, you ain't so good in grammar, please use a tool, Grammarly. I use that on the forums and on any web page. I have it added to my web browser. It also helps with spelling, but use that thing in Microsoft Word. When you see a squiggly little line underneath your word, make sure that you check it. Check the grammar and check the spelling. Make sure you use the right word. I don't know how many times I see students use the wrong word for weather. We're not talking about it's going to rain. That's weather. W-E-A-T-H-E-R. You want the W-H-E-T-E-H-E-R for weather. Most papers you should write an introduction. Tell us what you're going to tell us. Write the body of the paper, which is what you're telling us. And write a conclusion. And remind us what you just told us. That's good writing. Use that format. And our last slide here is signature assignments. You'll see that in pretty much, I think, every single class in our program has what this university has adopted, which are signature assignments. These are what we in education call summative assignments. These are assignments that are designed to make sure that you have satisfied course learning objectives, which are tied back to our program learning objectives, which are tied to our university student learning objectives. These are designed to assess those things. They're significant assignments. I would suggest that you start working on those early in your class, like week 1. as much as you possibly can. Some classes you will do rough drafts and work through that process, and other classes you won't. But I do recommend that you spend more time on these than you expect to take. These are typically research-based, so you're asked to find a certain number of journal articles to support your whatever you're going to be writing about or presenting about. Most of these have what's called a rubric. So I would suggest that you look at the rubric, because what a rubric is used for is, number one, it should tell you what you're going to be graded on, and number two, it helps the faculty to grade you and keep us on track so we grade you fairly and accurately. And so it protects you as a student too. So always look at the rubric and see what we're going to grade you on. That's true of any rubric that we have in the syllabi, because all those rubrics should be contained in our syllabi also. And as I end in this presentation, I just want to remind you that we're here to help all the faculty. If you're not sure, please ask. We're here to assist your learning. And we want you to have a great learning experience at Fresno Pacific University.